for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chair Powell, would you say the economic crisis caused by the pandemic is over?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear exactly what you said. I apologize.
That's okay. Would you say the economic crisis caused by the pandemic is over?
No, I would not.
Okay. How long do you think it'll take before we know?
I think, well, before we know, I think we'll know a lot in the next 4 to 6 months about vaccines. But the real issue, though, is what are going to be the effects of people whose jobs may have changed or gone away. It's really the post-pandemic economy is going to be different. And we're going to learn a lot about that in the second half of next year. And I think those people are going to need help, some of them.
And I think that's, Chair Powell, a very fair answer. We can't know unless we have a crystal ball exactly how the recovery from this is going to proceed. Now, Secretary Mnuchin, who's also here with us today, he apparently disagrees with you. In fact, Secretary Mnuchin is so certain that the economic crisis is over that he wants to ban the Fed from using any more of the $500 billion that Congress set aside in the CARES Act to help the economy. Two weeks ago, he wrote to you to request that you return the remaining $455 billion because our economy, in his opinion, simply doesn't need it anymore. In response, you, Chair Powell, said that the outlook for the economy is extraordinarily uncertain. The Federal Reserve would prefer that the full suite of emergency facilities established during the pandemic continue to serve their important role as a backstop for our still strained and vulnerable economy. Needless to say, it's highly concerning that the two people tasked with stabilizing our economy do not agree on whether the markets are stable. But it actually doesn't matter what either of you two think, because Secretary Mnuchin simply doesn't have the authority to recall the $455 billion.
Once again, Section 4029, Termination of Authority, A, in general, except as provided in subsection B, on December 31, 2020, the authority provided under this subtitle to make new loans, loan guarantees, or other investments shall terminate. New loans, loan guarantees, or other investments shall terminate. GGGGGG.
I'm reading aloud now from Section 4027 of the CARES Act. On or after January 1, 2026, any funds that are remaining shall be transferred to the general fund. In other words, sent back to the Treasury.
Have you forgotten?
Secretary Mnuchin, is it currently the year 2026? Yes or no?
First, let me comment. I do believe there's an economic emergency. You're putting words in my mouth that are not correct. Second of all, okay, the answer is that 4027.
The time belongs to the gentle lady.
Reclaiming my time, Mr. Mnuchin, would you start by answering my first question, and I will ask you others. Is today the year 2026? Yes or no?
Of course it's not 2026. How ridiculous to ask me that question and waste our time.
Well, Secretary Mnuchin, I think it's ridiculous that you're play acting to be a lawyer when you have no legal degree.
Actually, I have plenty of lawyers at the Department of Treasury who advise me. So I'm more than happy to follow up with Chair Waters and explain all the legal provisions and the ranking member. So more than happy to make that access.
Secretary Mnuchin, are you in fact a lawyer?
I do not have a legal degree. I have lawyers that report to me.
Thank you. Chair Powell, are you in fact a lawyer?
The gentlewoman from New York, Ms. Ocasio-Cortez, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you both so much for coming to offer your testimony today and your expertise. Secretary Mnuchin, not to belabor the point, but I did want to dive back in here to section 4027 and 4029 that you're referencing. I do think it's important that we discuss this because you are bringing it up as the main rationale as to why you are kind of bringing these funds back into the exchange stabilization fund. So, first and quickly, section 4027 of CARES explicitly states that unused funds are to be returned to the exchange stabilization fund until, or rather on January 1st, 2026, correct?
That is correct, and that will occur on January 1st, 2026.
So, and that's with respect to the unused funds. Now, section 4029.
No, it's not the unused fund. It's the unused funds in the ESF at that time. Yes. That's correct.
Yes, thank you. Now, section 4029 refers to rescinding authority to making new loans, right? So the law explicitly does contemplate, it has that section A, B, and C. And it does explicitly contemplate that remaining funding as of January 1st, 2021, which is just in a matter of weeks, to be available for restructuring, modification, amendment, and administrative costs. Is that right?
That is correct.
And so I was wondering if I could give you the opportunity to discuss about, instead of choosing to return those funds, and you are choosing to return those funds, right?
No, I'm not choosing to return those funds. Whether the funds are returned or the funds aren't returned, 4029 governs both direct and indirect. So again, I could have allocated all $500 billion on day one to the Federal Reserve. I allocated $200 billion. It really is irrelevant. It's the 4029 governs the same provision, whether money's sitting in any of the accounts. That was the purpose of 4029. If you don't read that way for 4029, then it shouldn't have existed. There is no purpose to have the December 31st, 2020 date. And again, I personally negotiated these documents.
I understand. And I'm trying to seek some clarification because we are in such a desperate position, given the unfortunate gridlock. I think it's that we're all aligned in interest in trying to figure out where we can explore maximum flexibility as offered by the statute. And so I'm just curious if, instead of choosing to kind of return, or rather, instead of returning these funds, instead of reading the interpretation as returning these funds to the ESF, could we use this modification statute to recapitalize loans?
Recapitalize existing loans?
Yes.
So again, in my example, we have made airline loans. So people are
Yes.
focusing on the 13.3. These facilities, this governs both the direct loans and the indirect loans. In the case of if there's an airline loan that we have already made and we need to make protective advances after December 31st, 2020, the statute allows us to do that. And again, it doesn't matter whether I had allocated 500 billion. I just want to put this in perspective. Of the 190 billion I allocated that would have done $2 trillion of lending, I believe we've done like 25 billion in total. So we're talking about this is irrelevant in the broader scheme of things.
So, and to kind of return to your airline example, are there other examples of advances that could be provided ahead of the sunset date?
Again, on any of the existing underlying loans. So if there is a Main Street loan that has already been made, and that Main Street loan needs a protective advance after December 31st, 2020, that can be done. The difference between 4027 and 4029, okay, has to do with existing loans versus new loans. So again, it's very clear, 4029 refers to make new loans, loan guarantees, or other investments shall terminate.
Thank you very much.